Hey guys, it's Chris. Welcome back to our Adventure Awaits series. Last time around we took a look at some of the best places to camp and RV in Colorado. Today we are going to be looking at the top 5 places to camp and RV in California. As a native Californian, I'm really excited for today, just for the chance to kind of relive some of my favorite spots throughout the state. So without further ado, let's take a look. First up on our list is going to be Redwood National Forest. Now, you've probably seen photos throughout the years of California's redwood and sequoia trees. They're world famous. Probably the most famous one is the General Sherman tree. That's actually a bit further south in Sequoia National Park. But Redwood National Park is a little bit further north. As its name implies, it's mostly comprised of redwood trees. Some of those trees can get well over 100 feet tall, so it's really awe-inspiring to just be standing in the middle of that forest looking up. There's no feeling quite like it. It's hard to put into words, but there's also an enormous amount of wildlife that's in the park. It's really an incredible place to just go. It's so just natural and undisturbed. There is also a lot of camping and RVing sites around the park, so it's a great spot to go. It's very accessible for that reason. The only word of caution I would give you is it is located near Eureka, California, which is pretty much on the northern end of the state, right up near Oregon and Washington, and the weather does reflect that. It is much colder than probably what you typically think of when you think California. So definitely if you're gonna go, bring a heavy jacket because you're probably gonna need it. Next up is Yosemite National Park. Now this probably alongside Yellowstone National Park are probably maybe in the top 5, if not the top 2 most well-known national parks throughout the US and the world. And with good reason. Yosemite is gorgeous. It kind of captures the full breadth of California's variety. From a natural standpoint, there's more of those towering sequoias. You get kind of a glimpse of the high desert portion of things. And then there's also some really cool hikes. It's right in the middle of the Sierra Nevada, so you have places like Half Dome and El Capitan that are just really breathtaking places to visit. And then in the park itself, you also have Yosemite Village, which is kind of a little community within the park that's got some restaurants and some attractions all to its own. So it's really worthwhile to visit if you happen to be in the park. And again, just like with Redwood, it's very accessible from a camping and RVing standpoint. So definitely a worthwhile spot to check out. For our third spot, we're looking at Lake Tahoe. Now, again, this is probably one of the most famous spots in the US. Even if you've never been, you've probably heard of it. It's just one of the most popular vacation spots that exists. And that's because there's a little bit of something for everybody. You've got, being on the lake during the summer. You've got some great skiing spots if you go during the winter. You can do everything from go to a casino if that's kind of your jam, all the way over to renting a rustic cabin out in the middle of the woods. They've literally got anything and everything between. So it's no wonder that it's such a great vacation spot. However, word to the wise, it is a very saturated location. So there's a lot of people. So try and pick and choose your times really carefully if you do decide to go. I usually tell people to aim for off seasons like the spring or the fall, or if you are going to go in the middle of one of their busier seasons, the summer and winter, try and aim towards the beginning and end when maybe you can miss the giant rush of people. Next up, we have Death Valley National Park. Now this is one of my favorite spots in probably the entire United States. And that might kind of sound weird because it's a desert. And that's totally fair to say that, but it's actually really, really cool from a historical standpoint. Death Valley is so tied to the historicity of the state of California. There's so many cool abandoned mining towns and just abandoned mines in general from California's gold rush days. And then you've also got a really cool residence that's kind of towards the north end of the park called Scotty's Castle. It's a little residence that was built in the early 1900s by one of California's first millionaires. And it's just a really cool glimpse into early 1900s life in the state. It's very well preserved. It's been restored a couple of times, but it's a great spot to just kind of go and experience that. And then again, just from a historical perspective, it's so much fun to just travel through. It is home to the largest recorded temperature, or highest recorded temperature, I should say, in all of North America. So when you go, unlike Redwoods, which we said dress warm, do the opposite for Death Valley. It's going to get a bit toasty. Fifth on our list, we're looking at Channel Islands Park. Now this park is really kind of cool because it's actually our least accessible spot we've looked at. And that might sound like a downside, but it's actually really cool because you have to take a boat out to the islands themselves if you want to go and kind of tour that, which is really worthwhile, by the way. There's an incredible variety of sea life out there. There's some lighthouses. It's a popular spot for seals to gather. As weird as that sounds, they can converge by the hundreds, if not thousands. So that's really something that's cool to see that you don't kind of get to see really anywhere else. There is some lodging and parking that's nearby in Oxnard, California. So that's where, if you're RVing down in that direction, you'll probably want to stay there and then take a boat out to the islands and see the sights. Last but not least, we are going to be looking at a bonus spot. We did this with our last iteration of Adventure Awaits, and we're going to do it again. I'm a native Californian, again, kind of as I said, at the top of everything. So picking and choosing spots out in California is really tough for me, just because there's so many that I have either a sentimental connection to or that I just love. And so this was a really tough decision for me. But at the end of the day, my favorite spot that's not on this list so far is probably Brea Tar Pits. It's located right in the heart of the LA area. So if you're visiting LA, it's definitely a spot I would prioritize. It's just such a unique place. It's so strange to see something like the tar pits in the middle of this giant metropolitan area. So that in and of itself is unique, but it's also unique from the fossil record that's there. They've dug so many different fossils out of the tar pits. It's really cool from just a natural history perspective. It's also right down the street from the LA Museum of Art and the newly opened Academy Museum of Motion Pictures, which as a film and television buff is an absolute must-see for me. But even if it's not your thing, LA in general has a lot of cool spots, so if you're ever in that area, we could fill up a whole another probably 2 or 3 videos on spots to visit in that area. So definitely make sure to do your research ahead of heading out there and see what maybe is right up your alley. So as you guys can see, there's tons of really cool places in the state of California. It's just a beautiful state with a lot of variety, and we can't wait to see some of your guys' photos from when you travel there. If you ever do and you post them on your social media, definitely make sure to tag us so we can see those. We would love to be a part of your journey in that way. But if you have any questions about any of these spots we looked at or any other potential spots you're going to look at, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're available by phone, chat, or email. And in the meantime, happy RVing.